So let's start real quickly. I'm assuming that most people know what a squatter is, but let's just pretend for a minute there's a few people listening who do not know. Tell them what a squatter is.
Sure. A squatter is somebody who has come into your property without a good faith basis to do so, and they're living there, essentially. It can be residential property, it can be commercial, but they don't own it. They're not under a lease from the owner. They've simply moved in.
Right.
Sometimes they sometimes they just walk in through an open garage door and they move into the house. And at that point, they refuse to leave. That's what a squatter is.
Yep, and they take possession. They use that house just like it is theirs. Now, at the beginning of the year when we started dealing with squatters, it's my understanding that you didn't have a clear-cut way of dealing with that in an efficient manner. So it could be that squatters could stay in there a little longer. And I think the state might have passed some new laws, or maybe it's regulations in Fulton County or whatever. So tell us how it used to be and what you'd have to do to get someone out, and how a new statute has made it where it's faster, easier, whatever it is.
Sure. Yeah, there's a new statute that Governor Kemp signed into law at the end of April.
Okay.
Old process had been on the books for 170 years.
Wow.
And the old process, just briefly, was essentially swearing out an affidavit in front of the sheriff,
okay,
getting the deputy to go out and what they called exhibit that affidavit. That's an expensive word for show it to the squatter.
Display it.
And at that point, the squatter had to immediately write out a counter affidavit if they thought that they had a good faith basis to stay in the property.
Okay.
The problem with the old process was that none of the sheriffs wanted to actually go out and do that absent an actual court filing. They didn't want to be tasked with simply going out and showing things to people. So a number of our legislators got together, changed the law in a couple of significant ways.
Okay.
One, they actually made squatting a crime. And that makes the procedure for getting squatters out of your property much, much faster. They also changed the process on the civil side, or the non-criminal side. But it's that change to the criminal code that's really most important.
That's where the teeth. So it'd be the same as saying, hey, shoplifting's a crime, and the police have a very clear-cut way of handling it. Now they're saying if you're in a home and it's not your home, you're not supposed to be there, you're a criminal.
Correct.
Wow.
So the process would be to go to law enforcement. So they go to your sheriff's office. It has to be the sheriff's office for the county in which the property is located.
Okay.
You ask them to go out and issue a citation to the squatter. The sheriff goes out and cites them for unlawful squatting. And at that point, they have 3 days to produce to the sheriff the actual lease, not just an affidavit, but they have to produce whatever contract it is that they claim allows them to be in the property. If they don't produce anything, then the sheriff puts them out. If they do produce an affidavit and, say, a lease, then at that point, the sheriff's office gives that paperwork over to the magistrate court in that county. If the squatter turns in a lease or whatever documentation they claim gives them a basis to be in the property,
right,
one of the changes is the magistrate court now has to hold a hearing within 7 days. And if the court decides that whatever paperwork was turned in doesn't give the person the right to be there, not only do they get evicted, they also can be arrested for the misdemeanor crime of unlawful squatting. And they can be subject to fines that include the reasonable rental value of that property for the entire time that they've been in the property. Use the new criminal statute. If you're dealing with a squatter, make your complaint to law enforcement, have them go out and use that citation process, because it's going to move, or it should move, much, much faster on that side. And you ultimately get the same relief if the squatter can't prove that they've got a right to